Kevin Biggio hit a home run for the Dodgers. And that's about the only positive thing that happened for the Dodgers. Let's talk about it. Are the Dodgers in trouble or just in trouble right now? Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. Find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to become an everyday, all you have to do is listen or watch every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready, or if we're going live on YouTube like we are right now here on Tuesday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. You chose quite a night to come check us out, but we appreciate you nonetheless. Jeff and I, that's Jeff Snyder, I'm Vince Samperio. We're both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered this team in a variety of ways over the past decade. We've been Dodger fans our whole lives, and we've seen a lot of Dodger baseball, and the game that just happened is one of those that you don't really want to remember. And we'll talk about certain things about this game. We won't get into details about it, but we're here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes, bringing you some hopefully rational Dodger takes. And Jeff, I mean, the easy thing to say after a game like this is, well, I knew it was going to happen. It was Zach Wheeler versus Bobby Miller. But even with that, even with the Phillies getting back Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber before the game started, I don't really think anyone had it mapped out quite this way.
Yeah, absolutely not. When your infield in the last inning is Kike Hernandez pitching, Kevin Biggio at first base, Austin Barnes at second base, Gavin Lux at shortstop, and Chris Taylor at third, that's when, if it was a TV show, there would be that screeching sound, and the narrator would say, I guess you're wondering how we got here. How we got here was Bobby Miller gave up 9 runs in 4 innings through 87 pitches. I was telling you before we started recording, if he had kept the pitch count down around low 80s, I would have said, hey, send him back out for the 5th inning, eat some innings. Instead, Kike Hernandez ate the innings at the back end, pitched 1 1/3 innings, got out all 4 batters he faced. And yeah, that was about it. Kevin Biggio homered, Kike got 4 outs. Austin Barnes had 2 hits. But these are all things that anytime Austin Barnes gets 2 at-bats in a game that he didn't start, that's bad news. Kevin Biggio playing, still in general, bad news. And Kike Hernandez pitching, it's either really good news or really bad news. And in this case, it was really bad news.
Both his times pitching were in Philly, right?
Yeah, both times against the Phillies. This time he didn't give up a walk-off homer. Bobby Miller made sure of that.
That's what we needed last time. But yeah, I mean, obviously Bobby Miller is the big one to talk about. The Dodgers offense not doing too much, It's like that right now. There's games where they scratch by. There's games where they score some runs, and there's games where they just don't really do anything. And that's going to be the case until moves are made or changes are made. And there's not really too much to continue to fret about that. But with Bobby Miller, there is something to kind of talk about. And with the uncertainty that's now moving forward with Bobby Miller, with Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw is supposed to make a rehab start. But again, hopefully that all goes right. With Yamamoto still not throwing yet, with the trade deadline 3 weeks away, which we'll get into a little bit later. The Bobby Miller problem is, a lot bigger than it was a few starts ago when we were like, okay, let's just let him get back into shape, get back into it. And now it's like, will he ever do that this year?
Yeah, and there's definitely concerns. The velocity is still good, but not what it used to be. And when he first came back for the injury, I was like, okay, now mile and a half per hour down. It's not the end of the world. We've definitely seen other pitchers get by with far less velocity, and Miller still has a lot of good pitches. So I thought, okay, he could probably get by with that. But now for me, the big concern is that he doesn't seem to know where the ball's going, and doesn't seem to be able to put it where he wants it to. So he ends up having to default to fastballs, gets into hitters counts, and then even when he defaults to the fastball, he's not hitting the corners. We talked about Dallas Keuchel the other day, hitting the edges of the zone all day long. Dallas Keuchel is a much worse pitcher than Bobby Miller. But stuff wise, and honestly, Dallas Keuchel's been bad this year too, other than against the Dodgers in that one game. But when you can hit your spots, you can get by with bad stuff. Bobby Miller has good stuff, and he shows kind of the flip side that if you can't hit your spots, you can't get by even with really good stuff. Saris, who's a big pitching guru, he was tweeting about Bobby Miller. He said, I don't know why Bobby Miller hasn't been better. It bothers me. He isn't a two-pitch guy. The command is maybe not elite, but it's not below average. He's got pitches that fit each handedness. I still think he'll be good, ? And then somebody pointed out in his last 6 starts, he has 17 walks. And Eno basically just responds, well, that's only 6 starts. And in bigger samples throughout his career, he's never had a walk rate like that. That is kind of what concerns me. Between the velocity being down and the command, it makes me think Bobby Miller's not healthy.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, usually with command and, even control, it could be as simple as something with the mechanics. And that's what you always think about when it comes to something like that. And, Bobby Miller, the other part is we've seen him. He's a big guy on confidence and, maybe still hasn't quite figured out everything that comes with the mentality of baseball. We've seen innings with 2 outs turn into 4 or 5 run innings, or, innings where after he's thrown like 3 really good innings in that 4th inning, all of a sudden it'll kind of implode on him. And, not to say that he's mentally weak, just to say that there's, you have to go through those struggles to kind of figure things out. And he's gone through them last year, and he's gone through them now this year in different capacity. But you compound that with not having, command and control of all your stuff. And, maybe like I said, the velocity, maybe the arm's just a little sore, a little tired, whatever it is, maybe he wasn't quite ready to come back, or maybe he was, but he's still building back up. And who knows? There's a lot of different factors. But I definitely think the main thing that stands out is like you go into this, and we'll talk about it later, but you go into the deadline not counting on Bobby Miller to be someone right now. And if he does become someone for you the rest of the year, then, you say, great, we'll see where he fits in. But if not, then, it's not someone that you're going to count on every 5th day right now to give you something. And it's kind of getting into the Walker Buehler territory of, are they going to have to give him time off to kind of figure things out and, go work on some stuff or whatever the case is?
Yeah. And overall, that's not new today. I mean, I don't think either of us have been thinking of Bobby Miller as a possible postseason starter this year, basically at all. Like maybe since his first start that was good. Since then, it's like, okay, well, it's Glasnow and Yamamoto, and then Gavin Stone has stepped up. And so, if Yamamoto's healthy, it's really 4 guys battling for that last spot. And I don't think either of us were very confident Bobby Miller is going to take that spot. I mean, even yesterday, we were talking about next year's pitching staff, and Bobby Miller was like the 11th guy we named. He is kind of an afterthought right now. But the fact is, he does still have really good pitches. You remember when he was a prospect, Baseball Prospectus said that his 100-mile-an-hour fastball was his 4th best pitch. And it does, confidence should it's surprising how much confidence can play a part, because you have to have conviction when you're throwing an off-speed pitch. And it's not as easy as just saying, I'm going to do this, because if the evidence doesn't back up your confidence, it's really hard to maintain that confidence. And so I think it's all going to come together. Getting the fastball back, both command wise and a little bit of velocity, I think will help everything, because he will then have more confidence in throwing all his pitches. I just don't have any idea how or when or even if he is going to get that fastball back.
Yeah. And I do wonder, if, let's just say, Yamamoto comes back, Kershaw comes back, and maybe they make a deal or two. Do they think about maybe trying them out in a bullpen role for the rest of this season, and maybe trying to say, hey, go out there, give us 1 or 2 innings, max effort, work on, get your command control under control, and get your mechanics right, and maybe build his confidence up that way. And then you can maybe say, like, okay, they took a flyer on a reliever type, a deal where you take a flyer on a reliever, that flyer is just on Bobby Miller. I guess I could see that happening. Obviously, it wouldn't be great for his development, but for the Dodgers in 2024, like, that might be something that could happen.
Yeah. And the Dodgers are a little bit more shorthanded on starting pitching right now than they were. And so that's a little less likely right now. And that's what we call a segue, baby.
Yeah, there is another starting pitcher for the Dodgers on the injured list, but is it really an injury, or maybe are the Dodgers just being a little careful? We'll see. Let's make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn about more. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities or just any city the Dodgers are going to play at. If you want to check out, if you want to check out Texas for the All-Star game, there are a lot of Dodgers that'll be there. Maybe one less than there was yesterday, but with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in another team's city. So I've traveled a lot to watch baseball and watch the Dodgers, and Booking.com can help you out because you can get into the city you want to get into with hotels that maybe look over stadiums or family-friendly resorts if you're taking the whole squad. Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. If you just use Booking.com and now you're in that city and now you need tickets, the Game Time app can help you out because they are here to bring you their authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, and not just when you're traveling, but also at Dodger Stadium. There's a lot of bobbleheads coming up. Kiki Hernandez bobblehead might be the last bobblehead he has as a Dodger, so you might want to get that one, and you can go to the Game Time app and check out the tickets right now, or you can wait till the last minute and see what deals they got going on, because you can make sure you get the lowest price guarantee. If there's tickets in the same section or row as you, cheaper, than Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So go check out Game Time right now. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, all you got to do is create an account with the Game Time app and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check us out every weekday morning or weekday nights now, I guess, after these games that are going on live here on YouTube. Remember, if you're already on YouTube, you can check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles, two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. The Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox is available on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel live after most Dodger games and on our audio feed. And, we're here to talk. The Dodgers rotation took another hit, albeit it might be for a shorter time than some of the other hits they've taken recently. But Tyler Glasnow was placed on the injured list with lower back tightness. Dave Roberts said it locked up on him a little bit Sunday. And we literally just talked about Glasnow on yesterday's episode, and if we were concerned about, him throwing as many innings as he has so far and not having done so in his career up to this point, and we both kind of said, yeah, we think at one point the Dodgers will give Tyler Glasnow a break. And, while back is nothing to play with, it does appear that this might be the break that we were talking about.
Yeah, and honestly, obviously, you don't want an injury to your ace of any kind, but I guess I'd take a back injury over an arm injury. Even though, as a Clayton Kershaw fan, I'm knocking on all the wood I can find as I say that. But the fact is Kershaw's arm injuries have been more devastating to the Dodgers than his back injury over the years. And yeah, hopefully it is just hey, Tyler, we've got the All-Star break next week. And that's the thing to remember. The 15-day injured list is 15 days, not 15 games. And that includes the All-Star break. And so it may have been a thing of, hey, Tyler, if you skip one start right now, before the All-Star break, then you skip the All-Star game, 15 days from the 6th, which was the last time he pitched, that's what it's retroactive to. It means he's eligible to come back the Sunday after the All-Star break. Eligible to. It could be as simple as we can put him on the IL right now, and he really just misses one start, and gets the full, like I said yesterday, 15 days off, and you spend the first 9 days not doing anything, and then you throw a sim game on day 10, and then you're pitching on day 15. It might be as simple as that. It's kind of the optimistic view, because it's possible when you're that tall, that's a long back. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that, especially when you're carrying a team like he has been. But it is, hopefully it's not a severe injury. I mean, hopefully it's not even an injury. It's hey, your back's probably sore, right? And that's what I'm going to keep my hopes on until we find out otherwise.
Yeah, obviously we're speaking with the hopes that this is what's going on rather than he's actually injured. But with what we've seen so far this season, with injuries that have coming back after 10 days and then 3 months later still don't know when they're going to be back, I can imagine people being gun shy, and I'm fine with that if that is the case. So yeah, but for Glasnow, we'll see what happens. But if it is just kind of reset, take those 2 weeks off, I do wonder, for his sake, I would imagine he believes he's going to make another All-Star game at some point. I do wonder if he's going to still travel for the festivities and kind of be part of it. I think that honestly might be better, like to be part of the festivities, but knowing you don't have to play in it. I think that might be cool. But either way, he's going to get a break regardless from throwing. Maybe the Dodgers don't want him to travel, even though Texas isn't that far. But, there is a lot of things going on when you do All-Star stuff, and, you're maybe on your feet a little bit more than the Dodgers might want you to be.
Yeah, it could be. The flight itself, 2-hour flight, flying first class or charter plane or whatever, isn't that much to worry about. Kershaw's back injury originally started on a flight, but that was a 18-hour flight from Australia. But I assume he's going to want to take part and be there. And, if that's what he wants to do, I hope he can do that. That might be a signal, because if his back is really hurting him, then I think there would be no way to let him do that. But if it is just it's July, something hurts, and we're going to use that something as an excuse to put him on the IL, then there's no issue with him being in Texas for the All-Star game, for the festivities. Because he's not young. He's in his 30s. And so making your first All-Star team in your 30s, there's no guarantee he's going to make another one. I guess it's a better chance now that he plays for the Dodgers. But there's no guarantee. So it is something that I hope he doesn't miss out on if it's something he wants to take part in.
Yeah, some people maybe had the thought that Glasnow's injury replacement would end up being Gavin Stone. That was not the case. It's Hunter Green from the Reds. There'll still be chances for Gavin Stone to be named an All-Star replacement. But I guess, I'm sure they have a list they maybe go down, or a manager. I don't know how it works once they get to replacements, but
I don't know for sure either. Hunter Green was apparently next in line. And who knows, I didn't even realize until today that Zach Wheeler had been named to the team, but before they even announced it, they had already replaced him, because he was scheduled to pitch Sunday. Now we'll see if he does. He left this game early with back issues, believe it or not. And so, who knows if that's going to be a serious thing for him. But if Gavin Stone does make it, I won't be heartbroken if he doesn't, because I do think he has All-Star games in his future. And I do like the idea of him not pitching during the All-Star break, because the Dodgers starting pitching has been rough lately, and I will take the break for everybody we can get, because Stone pitches tomorrow, Wednesday, and then he won't pitch again before the All-Star break, which means if he doesn't pitch in the All-Star game, he's going to get at least 8 days off. And that's, that's awesome. Give him 8 days off, and it could be even more, because the Dodgers have 4 full days off for the All-Star break. So we'll see what they do. But Yeah, the Dodgers starting pitching is not in the most enviable situation right now, and the main silver lining for me is that every single year some team that sucked in July ends up winning the World Series, and except the Dodgers in 2020 because they didn't play in July. But every other year, the Rangers and the Braves and the Astros and everybody else, everybody goes through these stretches, and it ends up not meaning anything in October. The question is, can they get healthy and effective between now and October?
Yeah, healthy and effective, and or bring in reinforcements, which we're going to talk about now. Knowing everything that we know with the Dodgers rotation, does that kind of change maybe our thoughts or the Dodgers' thoughts about what to look for this deadline? We'll get into it, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks is simple. You get the app. It's daily fantasy sports. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That means you can turn $10 into $1,000. It's as simple as finding a player, maybe Will Smith, and finding a stat. Maybe they'll have the number of hits he'll have in the game, and it might be set at 1.5. And if you think Will Smith is going to hit more than that, get more hits than that, then you pick more. If you think he's going to get less, you pick less. There's not just baseball, though. There's women's basketball. There's a ton of other sports, esports, golf when there's golf events, and MMA when there's MMA events. So there's a lot of different things going on on the Prize Picks. So go check it out. Make your projections and turn $10 into $1,000. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app today. And if you use the code LOCKEDONMLB, you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. You put in up to $100, they'll match that in bonus credit. So go get the Prize Picks app today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I want to thank you for being an everydayer if you are one. An everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate you, those of you that already are everydayers or that are here in the chat every day or listening on your way to work or whenever you listen or watching whenever you watch. We appreciate you. If you're not subscribed and you are an everydayer, are you really a true everydayer? I don't know if we can say that, but you can take that extra step and just go and subscribe. And remember, you can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's a it's a texting service. You pay a few bucks a month and you get direct updates from us when there's breaking news, rumors, thoughts, anything like that. And you can ask us questions if you have any thoughts or just want to chat. And we're here for you on joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. All right, Jeff. So we've talked a lot about the trade deadline, and we had a kind of full episode about it a little bit yesterday. But with the Glasnow, hoping that it's not a worst case scenario, but having that thought in the back of our mind, knowing that Bobby Miller might not necessarily be a contributor in the starting rotation, or at least one that you want to be in the starting rotation. Knowing Yamamoto and Kershaw and everyone else that's injured, you just can't count on them, or they can't do what they've done the last few years, which is count on guys coming back from injury. Has your thought shifted at all to, they might need more than one starting pitcher?
Yeah, I did have that thought during this game. I don't know that. Yeah, I assume the Dodgers are working on more information than you and I are about Yamamoto's health. But yeah, I do think there's no such thing as too much starting pitching. And so if they did go get 2 starting pitchers who are really good, the problem is I don't know if 2 really good starting pitchers are going to be traded to all 30 teams combined in the next 3 weeks, let alone to the Dodgers. But, if they did go get 2 really good starting pitchers, worst case scenario, they have really good starting pitchers pitching long relief out of their bullpen. And you know what? A piggyback game of Tyler Glasnow and Gavin Stone going the full 9 ain't the end of the world as far as I'm concerned in the postseason. And so, yeah, I do think I have kind of reached the point of there's no such thing as too much starting pitching. And so everything should be on the table as far as who the Dodgers acquire, I do want to address this comment. Not sure why you need to ask me, Vince, but hey, Vince, ask me if you think if this team will win a World Series this season.
Jeff, will this team, the Dodgers, win the World Series this season?
Well, that's two different things. This team, no. This team will not win a World Series this year. This team will not be the Dodgers team in October. That's the thing. Like when you look at the Dodgers defense at the end of this game, I mentioned the infield. The outfield was Miguel Vargas in left, James Ottman in center, Andy Pages in right, and then Will Smith. The Dodgers have 6 All-Stars. Only one of them wins in the game at the end of the game. Like there shouldn't be enough bad players on a roster to put that bad a team out at the end of a game. And I understand there's guys playing out of position and stuff, but the fact is, no, Kike Hernandez doesn't have any business being on a team that's hoping to win the World Series. The same is probably true of Chris Taylor. The same is definitely true of Gavin Lux. As much as I love Gavin Lux, I still believe he's going to be a good hitter. I don't believe he's going to be a good hitter this year. And so, and all these things, like that's kind of the nature of where we're at, that this team won't win a World Series. That's why the trade deadline is so important, and getting guys back, because Mookie and Muncy, those guys coming back would be a big deal. I don't know if Muncie's coming back or not. Mookie's definitely coming back. That makes a huge difference. So I'm not going to say the Dodgers will win the World Series, but absolutely the Dodgers still have a very good chance to win the World Series between what they're going to do at the trade deadline, getting guys back from injury, and just the fact that winning the World Series is so much about getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, nobody had the Rangers or the D-backs in the World Series. Nobody had the Braves in the World Series in 21. Like, there's a lot of teams. But regardless of all that, in terms of the deadline, like, I do think they need 2 starters. I don't think they need 2 aces. Now, obviously, 2 aces or 2, 1 or 2s would be great. But it's one of those things where they need one guy that's going to start at least game 1 or 2 of a playoff series right now. And then they maybe need another guy that's a little bit more of an innings eater type that you're not really expecting to be a factor in October. Maybe not quite Lance Lynn level, but maybe a little bit better than that. But regardless, that's what they need. And they need bats. They need that 1 bat for sure. Same thing. 1 bat for sure. 2 bats ideal. Relievers, I think they can get away with maybe picking up, someone that they like, a la Chris Martin a couple years ago or something like that, where might not be, maybe a little bit more under the radar move. I do think they have enough capital and prospects to make all those moves and not necessarily be hurt for the future. And like we've talked about a lot before, a lot of this core is locked in for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Like, Freddie Freeman's around for a couple more years, locked in. Will Smith's locked in forever. Mookie Betts locked in forever. Ohtani's locked in forever. Some of the young guys, Pages and Outman and Vargas, like one of those guys has to work out if they're not traded, and they're around forever now. You got the starting pitching. It's bad right now, but the future is kind of locked in and seeing how it goes. But again, it's another thing that the Dodgers aren't the only team that needs players, and some team is going to be more desperate than another team. And the Dodgers might not get the big names, but they might get the big names. Like, we don't really know what's going to happen. But yeah, I do think more than in years past, I think this team does need to make moves.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely need to make moves. Todd says there are no trades that can happen at the deadline to make the Dodgers competitive with the Phillies or Orioles. I'm glad Todd is here. I disagree with him strongly. And that's okay. That's the fun thing about talking baseball, is sometimes disagreeing with other smart people. A couple of the comments I wanted to address. Jay Bear says the Padres are slowly creeping up on the Dodgers. The Padres are currently losing 4-0, according to Jose in the chat, which means if the Padres lose 2, the Padres will be 7.5 games behind the Dodgers, which is exactly how far back they were when the Dodgers finished their 14-3 stretch back in May. 2 months ago, the Padres haven't gained any ground on the Dodgers. So if they're slowly creeping up on the Dodgers, it's really, really slowly. And ultimately, yeah, the Dodgers are going to win the division. Like, if not, I'll eat Vince's shoe. And yeah, they're going to play better. It's it does seem like every game is an emergency for some fans. And yeah, this game sucked. This game wasn't fun to watch, but it's July. I not that I don't care, but I can't imagine being worried about a game that happens in July.
Yeah, the Dodgers haven't been consistently fun to watch for a little while now. I mean, they've been hovering around 500 for a little bit, and it's not fun, but there are fun games that have happened, in that. We had the big comeback last week and things like that, but it's not, there's another comment here that says we need to do something now. Like, there literally is no reason to do something right now other than you'll have a guy for an extra 2 weeks. Like, you need him by July 30th, whatever time the deadline is, 4 p.m. Eastern. Like, that's when you need to make the move by. Anything before that, okay, cool. Anything after that is not possible. So you give them the time. It's, like I said, not fun to watch right now. Most of the time, half the lineup is guys that you don't necessarily count on to have consistent mechanics and hitting at the plate. But it's what we got right now. And, it's still Shohei Ohtani and Will Smith and Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez at the top. And some days that's going to be really fun, and some days it's not. And then combine that with the back half of the lineup, and you get games like this. Combine that on top with bad starting pitching, and you get a game like this. But all in all, the Dodgers could be a lot worse off.
Yeah, absolutely. Jose says Ohtani's not making a difference until he's able to pitch. Ohtani is the reason that the Padres aren't creeping up on the Dodgers, because the fact is, for as frustrating as the Dodgers are right in this moment, they are still in first place by a healthy margin. And that's because Ohtani and Mookie and Freddie and Smith and Teoscar have earned their all-star spots, played really well. That's why they're in the position they're in. And I do think, like, I'm old enough to remember when the Dodgers actually were bad. And the last several years, it's, they had a bad game, they're terrible. No, I've seen some actual really bad Dodger teams. And I'm sure a lot of you have too. And it's easy to forget them. We get spoiled by how good they've been. But the fact is, they're still a very good team that had a very bad day today. And you're only as hot as today's starting pitcher. Gavin Stone could go out and have a great game tomorrow. The offense shows up, scores 5 runs. They win 5-2. And it's like, hey, we just beat the Phillies, who we just said yesterday, no number of trades could make us competitive with them. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's why I try to keep a little bit more even keel during the regular season, less of a roller coaster, save the roller coaster of emotions for October.
Yeah. Again, like I said, not a fun time to watch the Dodgers on a daily basis, but there's still a lot of good. What do you want to do? Go watch the Angels? Like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of different. There's a lot of
still in the league.
There's a lot of different ways you can spend your days, and losing 10-1, not fun. Gavin Stone could come back and pitch 7 strong innings tomorrow, and the Dodgers win. And I wouldn't turn the tide the other way. Like, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. It's just like, they won a game in July after they lost a game in July. And, now they can go into the third game of the series and try to win the series. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot. This Dodger team on July 31st, if we get to July 31st and Kevin Biggio is still getting starts at third base, you'll definitely hear from us for sure.
It will not be as happy of an episode.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate everyone for sticking around. Appreciate you for listening. If you caught us after the live window, make sure to check us out wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, become an everydayer by listening or watching every day. Tell your friends, family, coworkers, any Dodger friends in your life about us. We're here for you every Monday through Friday. You can check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Locked On Dodgers Postcast with Pete Fox is there on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, live after most Dodger games. You can go beyond the podcast, come on Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can get text directly from us or text us back and ask us any questions or comments you may have. You can also find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get your car, if you're on your couch, here's my advice: play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.